Buenos dias. My name is Elisa Charters, and I'm the principal of EAC Business International, and I'm also the co-founder of Latina Surge National Nonprofit. We are so excited to welcome you today to our statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Diversity Expo 2021. We have tons of insights, lots of information to share with you about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and great speakers today. We're kicking this off with our chairman, Luis de la Hoz.
Hey, buenos dias, familia. Welcome to our 2020 edition, our Diversity Expo. It's a pleasure to be here today. We expect a lot of good information from this wonderful panel. And I also want to thank all the team members of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, all the volunteers, and everybody who make this happen. Thank you very much, familia. And please like and share this everywhere because this information is worth to share. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Carlos Medina, President and CEO of the Statewide Hispanic Chamber. I'm just going to say a few words on the topic of diversity. I say this often, so if I'm repetitive, I apologize, but I think it's worth repeating, and I hope that you guys repeat it when you meet your colleagues at the water cooler or on the elevator. My goal is to see, and the Chamber's goal is to see more diversity in the boardroom of corporations, in the C-suite, and in procurement in a ratio that's consistent with the dollars that are spent in that particular segment. There have been many marketing blunders and a real lack of understanding of the Hispanic market at many corporations. The US Hispanic GDP would put us 6th or 7th in the world if we were an independent nation, United States Hispanics. So trillions of dollars are being spent and still corporations miss the boat on that. I recently spoke to somebody, I can't give too many names, and they were asking, why doesn't your company spend money on media for the Hispanic market? A company like Univision is 26% of the market in the tri-state area. And the answer was, you don't buy our cars, you don't buy our suits, you don't buy high-end merchandise. How wrong is that? I mean, just look at Alberto and my suits, and we're spending money. We're donating to the economy, but it's a struggle, and we're going to keep on plugging away. Horizon could do it. Why can't other banks? Why can't other corporations doing business in New Jersey do it? It's not hiring one Black or Hispanic at your company, putting one diverse person of color on your board. Those are good baby steps, but there really have to be conversations to really solve this issue. And call the chamber. We're going to be honest with you. You hear me often call out my roots of Hudson County. We're going to be Hudson County honest, but you're going to leave that meeting with free, valuable information to be able to implement changes at your company. We don't want any handouts. We just want folks to spend in a manner that's consistent with the buy that the Hispanic market, which is a huge market, is providing for your company. Without further ado, we're very lucky to have a gentleman here who was born and raised in Cuba, has lived in 5 different countries. He didn't let language or cultural differences impede him. On the contrary, he embraced them, worked hard, nose down, no chip on his shoulder, which I think is a lesson for all immigrants. Sometimes we get in our heads, and I get calls from a lot of folks, a lot of members that are frustrated. Don't walk around with a chip on your shoulder. Use your Hispanic culture, your roots, your language to your benefit. The way the world is changing, being Hispanic is a superpower. It's not a drag. It's something that adds value to your resume. It adds value to your company. So use that. Alberto Garofalo, who's the president of Bank of America, New Jersey, is also their chief CRA officer. He co-chairs the bank's Hispanic Leadership Executive Council. And if that's not enough, he also volunteers at local schools, teaching the value of financial literacy and, of course, the value of diversity. I'm going to put him a little bit on the spot. Our Let's program, Latina Entrepreneurship Training series, is back. We did not have an anchor sponsor, and Alberto and Bank of America have stepped in, and great news, they are our anchor sponsor. So we're going to have classes. You know, this is a trademarked system. It worked last year. It's been increasingly valuable to our members. It includes mentorship. It includes classroom activities. So we want to thank Alberto. He's a Memorial Tiger, and that's okay. I'm a St. Joe's Blue Jay. We went to high school. Our buildings were, 30 feet apart. Alberto's younger than me, so we weren't there at the same time, but I really thank Alberto. And without further ado, we have some remarks from Alberto Garofalo.
Carlos, muchas gracias, muy buenos días. Good morning, everybody. Really, I am beyond excited to be here with all of you this morning. And, obviously, despite the fact that Carlos is a Blue Jay, I still said yes to being here this morning. And actually, all joking aside, two great schools, growing up in Hudson County. It's funny, you talked about that early on. But really, la verdad que un verdadero placer estar aquí con ustedes hoy, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. So Carlos and Louis, obviously, thank you for the introduction as we dive right in. And look, it really is a privilege to serve and to be here with all of you across, frankly, the state, and part of this extraordinary diversity expo. So again, thank you for the opportunity. Look. As I think back and looking back at 2020, look, I think I'm certain you all agree it has been an extraordinary challenging year. As a matter of fact, the audience may not know this, Carlos and Luis, but I became the president for Bank of America New Jersey actually just before the pandemic started. And, when I was offered this privilege, because it is a privilege, I said yes, not knowing that we were going to face a historic time in our history. And, it's interesting because, I'm a firm believer that we're capable of really extraordinary things if the need is great enough, right? So if the need is great enough, we're capable of pretty extraordinary things. We've seen examples of that. And there really is no question in my mind, as I think about, 2020 and reflect, and I'm certain all of you would agree, the need has never been great enough, and it continues to be. And by the way, that's exacerbated across our Hispanic and Latino communities. We all know this has had a significant effect across our community. So it's important, to the point earlier that we raise to the challenges before us. And look, I think that's why we did. That's why I did. And I know each of us rose to the challenge that were presented last year. And for us at Bank of America, look, it was clear that we needed to continue to be there for our communities and, frankly, raise the bar. And we did. And, whether you're talking about providing the much needed capital, working capital, whether it was donating PPE. As a matter of fact, we were one of the first to donate over 1.2 million masks in partnership with the governor and the state police for New Jersey. Whether it's been investing over $4.5 million in partnerships to ensure that the neighborhoods, by the way, that I grew up and still have family and friends there throughout the state, have access to food, to housing, and to the important essential human needs. And I think, obviously, in addition to that, hopefully by now you've heard, we announced several new commitments that frankly build on the long-standing focus on these important issues, including a $1.25 billion 5-year initiative to create opportunity for people and communities of color in very specific areas: health, healthcare, jobs reskilling, support for small businesses, the lifeline, frankly, and affordable housing. And look, we believe we're leading the way. And as part of that, we announced $300 million directed to 4 key areas. So jobs initiative, community outreach and initiatives, minority deposit institutions, and minority entrepreneurs, businesses, and funds. And so, look, that sounds sort of broad, and it is a broad sort of approach, but this is local. I'm here, I live here, I grew up here. And in New Jersey, we're also moving forward. We're finalizing $5 million in equity investments that will deploy capital directly to Black, Hispanic, and Latino, underrepresented minority, women-led entrepreneurs across this great state of New Jersey, so that they can grow, so that they can create jobs and make a positive impact in their community. And I invite the rest to join, because as large as this investment may seem, and as great as it may seem, and we feel good about it, I can tell you it simply isn't enough. And we need to align with amazing partners like the State Hispanic Chamber and others to do more in this space. The need has never been greater. And look, internally, and you talked about this, Carlos, the importance of diversity. Look, we've built on our efforts to ensure a diverse and inclusive workplace, and have seen, frankly, increases in diverse representation in nearly every area, and have a long-standing history of supporting our Hispanic Latino community. You talked about this, right? So, I've been with the firm for 17 years, and in those 17 years, interesting enough, not only have I lived in 5 countries, I have moved 17 times across the country. Surprisingly, my wife is still married to me. I am blessed, despite all of those moves. And I have seen, since the first day I started in this company, I was part of what's called an employee network group. It's called OLA. We're now 16,000 strong. And those employee groups, along with the council that I chair, which is the senior most Hispanic leaders across the firm, we are focused and working with our CEO and our senior leaders on promoting, advancing, retaining, and developing our Hispanic and Latino teammates. And I'm a perfect example of that, right? As you think about it, born in Cuba, came to this country in '83, and I've been blessed. And, I get to bring my full self to work every single day, and it's recognized and it's celebrated. And that's what we do. And that's part of the culture, frankly, that starts from the top, which, by the way, our CEO chairs our Global Diversity and Inclusion Council. And I think you've heard this before, it has to start from the top. And we've got no better supporter or bigger champion. Look, as it relates to the Hispanic and Latino segment, look, we're proud to be the bank of choice for our Hispanic and Latino clients and businesses. Just to give you some perspective, 1 in every 3 checking accounts that we open is opened by Hispanic and Latino clients. We serve over 9.5 million Hispanic Latino individuals and over 1 million small business owners. And as a matter of fact, we recently released the 4th annual survey for Hispanic small business owners to better understand the unique experiences and perspectives of Hispanic entrepreneurs. Look, we also feature Spanish language on bankofamerica.com en español, por supuesto, as well as through mobile banking, direct mail, email statements, ATMs, financial centers, radio spots. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with my voice because we are all over the radio. But Carlos, you talked about this. Why aren't we doing it? Well, we are, and we're going to do more. And we also leverage all sort of other marketing avenues to continue to be there. We've got over 2 million active users, by the way, in our award-winning Spanish language mobile app. Just to give you some examples. The other thing that Carlos didn't talk about, I am the person responsible for not only developing but leading the bank's strategy to drive responsible growth for the Hispanic and Latino segment across consumer and small business. By the way, the 2nd largest growth segment in the country. So look, not only as the leader of the Hispanic strategy for consumer and small business, as the co-chair for the Hispanic Leadership Executive Council, certainly as the president for the great state of New Jersey at Bank of America, I assure you, we will continue our long-lasting commitment to both internally and externally continue the progress. Because look, it's not only the right thing to do, friends, it is a competitive advantage. Make no mistake about it. The bottom line, we are stronger when we connect our diverse backgrounds and perspectives to better meet the needs of our teammates, our clients, and our communities. We have a long-lasting history of investing in our Hispanic Latino communities by being a great place to work for our employees, supporting our clients, and being proactive in our neighborhoods where we all live, work, and where we play. So look, let me end by obviously thanking Carlos, Luis, and frankly, the entire Hispanic State Chamber of New Jersey, not only for the opportunity to join you today, but really more importantly, your continued support and advocacy for our Hispanic Latino communities across this great state of New Jersey. I am humbled, and although I've only been here for a year, Carlos was one of the first partners and teammates that I personally reached out to understand, connect more, and find ways to partner. You heard our commitment and sponsorship for some really great programming that I think is going to continue to make a difference, and that's only really the beginning. So again, just thank you for the opportunity to be here. For our amazing audience, look, you're going to love and enjoy this expo. You've got a great panel that I think is equally committed to investing in our Hispanic and Latino communities. So thank you so much, and looking forward to the expo.
Alberto, thank you so much for this explanation of everything that Bank of America is doing. Thank you for your leadership and your connectivity, coming back to our communities and serving them and supporting them. I'm very impressed by the actionable allyship that Bank of America is exemplifying. And I have to say, as a Let's cohort, I think I can speak on behalf of all of mis hermanas that we are so grateful for the support that you're giving to continue our Let's program, which is so important to our success, in the marketplace and as entrepreneurs and startup companies at the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And really, you talked about HOLA. It's an amazing organization. Latina Surge has been interactive with HOLA and its members and leaders, and 16,000 strong. And knowing that there is commitment from the top down, from your CEO of Bank of America, really speaks to the leadership of the direction that DEI must have to make the difference. And thanks so much for all of your contributions too, with this 1.2 billion contribution to our society, whether, like you said, healthcare, jobs, and obviously supporting our entrepreneurial businesses. Thank you so much again for your leadership and for being here today and sharing all of this important information with all of us.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on now to our great panel that we have planned today. We have Allison Banks-Moore. She is the Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer of Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, New Jersey. Jose Tavares, and he's the Vice President of Small Business Development for Wells Fargo Bank. Doreen Tavares, she is the Assistant Vice President and Director of Diversity Programs. And Adi Ader, and she's the Chief Financial Officer of the American Dream Mall. We all had the opportunity to connect this week, and I'm so delighted to have all of our participants here today, because there's going to be so many great nuggets of information that you will learn, not just as entrepreneurs, but as suppliers of services and products to all of these wonderful companies. So I want to kick it off with Allison, because Allison, you clearly are a veteran in the DEI space. You talked yesterday a little bit about your journey, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and how everything is pivoting now in diversity, equity, inclusion with this whole condition of the pandemic and the events of George Floyd and the murder of Breonna Taylor last year, and how that's impacting decision-making in the DEI space.
First of all, thank you for having me, and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My journey, it's been quite a long one. As I had mentioned to you the other day, I have 40 years. I started when I was 2 of HR experience, so that'll give you perspective. And back in the 80s, I worked at AT&T, and AT&T was ahead of their time. They were doing all sorts of things around diversity back in the early 80s. And I had taken on a role there that allowed me the opportunity to be engaged with the employee resource groups, of which there were roughly a dozen of them. And then fast forward to the present day, I'm now at Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. I have been at Horizon for 16 years. And I initially came in not doing diversity work, but I segued into that role. So what's been happening as a result of all of the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, it really has been devastating for the Black and Brown community. I heard a term not too long ago, it's called weathering, where it's just a layering on of so many different things. And there's a tipping point for every individual. And one of the things that I felt was really important was that we needed to allow our employees to be able to talk about this, because it was, if they felt anything like how I felt, I knew they needed to talk. And so last year, I recruited our diversity council, gave them a crash course in facilitation skills, and we went out, and I mean, of course, everything was virtual as a result of the pandemic, but what we did, we actually held mandatory 90-minute listening sessions. And in 5 weeks, we held 65 sessions for all of our employees. And that included everyone, including our CEO. And those sessions were so cathartic and so enlightening and so important for people to be able to talk about the very things they don't normally have an opportunity to talk about. And that was so helpful to so many people, and also so enlightening to so many people, where they never realized that's how their coworkers were feeling. So it really provided the foundation to allow people to begin a conversation and to really get to understand each other's perspectives. And that was just the foundation of what we started to do. From there, we were able to capture over 1,200 comments, suggestions, recommendations. We set up a Diversity Council listening session mailbox. We were able to get roughly 600 comments in that mailbox. And then our CEO, our new CEO, Gary St. Hilaire, actually assembled a task force, of which I'm a part of. And what we're doing, we've taken all of that information, identified what we're doing, identifying the gaps, and then identifying what the future state should look like based on the feedback from our employees. We are now working on all of that right now.
Well, I love that you highlighted, what people are feeling, because that is really central to inclusion and belonging and, maintaining that competitive advantage by having these teams, these competitive teams that are together and stay together because they believe they belong together. And that cultural and emotional intelligence is so critical to, that continuity. And I want to just turn to Jose, because we talked a little bit about, personal experiences within our own intersectionality, beliefs, behaviors, backgrounds, and how that's like tied to growth. Jose had, a personal experience with his mom being an entrepreneur, and bringing that to the job every day as you see growth happening in your own business.
Yes, well, Elisa, thank you very much first for having me, and thank you to the Chamber. I have to say, there's not one conversation where Carlos, Luis, that I have participated that I haven't learned something new. So I always love being in this type of panel, this type of conversation. So yes, Elisa, to your point, when we connected, I was speaking, and it's pretty much an echo of what all the other panelists were talking. When I heard Alberto mentioning team member network, and I see that Allison also for her company mentioned that, when I came to the United States, that was back in 2006, and never have seen snow before. I only have watched it in movies. So I'm in the airplane looking outside and say, oh my God, it's snowing. So it's real. So I started working then with Wells Fargo about 15 years ago when I just came to the country. And those team member networks and those employee networks, which I'm still on the vice chair of the Southern New Jersey chapter here, that what makes a company feel like home. And to Allison's point, that secure environment allow employees to feel safe, to talk about their emotions during this turbulent time. To your point, Lisa, when it comes to personal, I remember mentioning to you that in my position now, it's small business development. I talk to small business owners every day. And the segment that I support is a segment of the $2 to $10 million. But I always go back to, and I was telling you, Elisa, that the part that I enjoy the most is the perspective. Going back and listening to them, to that fire that initiated everything. And I'm pretty sure in the audience, a lot of people can relate to this, that wake up every day and there's no much respect that I can have for a business owner. Going back to my own mom, Dominican Republic as an entrepreneur, and seeing her managing her little store as a CEO, CFO, accountant, everything for that company. And again, I always look for, every time that I speak to business owners during my current job now, that I go back to that perspective, just hearing them out and hearing that passion. And that passion never dies. And I think that's one of the most important things that business owners bring to the table, the passion. And that's not something that you can replicate. So here in Wells Fargo, we have done tremendous job in this area, especially now, right after right with the pandemic, and with our participation on PPP, in the donation of the fees that we generated on PPP. But to your point, Elisa, yes, absolutely. One of the most important things that I do is that connecting with business owners and bringing it back to my own personal story. So yes, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Jose. And a key word is passion. I know that many of the entrepreneurs and participants listening to us right now, they have tremendous passion in what they do, and they bring their full selves to the table. And this is all tied back to the quote, American dream. And Adi and I talked a little bit about the American dream and what American Dream Mall represents. And so I really want to, talk with Adi about her viewpoints as someone who's a Latina, who's risen up within American Dream, her path and destiny with being in real estate development, and how that's morphed, and how she's brought her full self to the table in management, but also how she, curates that idealism of the American dream. Adi?
Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you for having me here. I've been very fortunate, as Elsa could tell you, that since we caught up yesterday, in my career, I was born and raised in Miami, Latina, and rose pretty quickly based on a lot of drive, good timing. But I believe that, and so it's what people call it's the American dream. And as I was telling Elsa yesterday, it's crazy. So American Dream, as everyone knows, has been a challenge in New Jersey to get it open and operational. It's gone through very iterations from the Xanadu days. And I work for a family business, so it's very entrepreneurial. People don't know that. People probably think it's very corporate, and it's, it's not. It's owned and operated by a large family, and it's been a very blessing to work there. And it's crazy because here you are. It's called American Dream, and I was telling Elsa that how everybody's known about American Dream and talked about this for years, for 100 years, about coming to America, having the American Dream. And nobody had ever trademarked the name. So here we are, we're trademarked American Dream. We've now opened finally. We got really hit hard with, obviously, as a lot of business owners did with the pandemic. We were just about to open on March, and on March 19th. And then of course the whole world shut down on the 16th. And here we opened and started operating full scale on October the 1st, obviously with pandemic requirements of, you know, COVID, 25% in the beginning, and then to 30 and now to 50. And I am the CFO, as Elsa introduced me. I sit on the board. The COO for American Dream is also a woman, not Latina, but we'll forgive her for that. And it's really great because the company is owned by an Orthodox Jewish family. And, you know, sometimes that can kind of have a play into what their leadership looks like. And not in this case. They're very modern. They're very progressive. They really believe in diversity. Hence me being their CFO, and our COO is being led by women as well. So it's very great opportunity. I'm very fortunate. We also believe in diversity. We have a huge diverse background of people that work for us, our demographic, led by Hispanics. 43% of our workforce is Hispanic, which is fantastic. We believe in also supporting New Jersey. We welcome all business owners to come bid, be part of our vendor selection, especially obviously for myself, Hispanic is important. So, you know, I welcome as many people as possible to come to, you know, if you are a small business and you could provide some type of service to us, please, we'd love to have an open bid policy come in. And we're excited to be here and be part of the community.
Thank you so much, Adi, for those comments. I think it's really important to understand as a community that American Dream serves, you know, not just its customers, its retail customers, but
Right.
the supplier diversity, all those that are providing services and products, the creative minds of all those entrepreneurs that are letting space at American Dream, and then of course all of the employees that are there day in and day out to make it happen and be a reality.
Yeah.
And speaking of realities, AECOM. I mean, if it wasn't for AECOM and mega firms like AECOM building our infrastructure and all of these incredible construction projects and facilities, a lot of this wouldn't be happening in our regional area of New Jersey, New York. So Doreen, please talk with us about the major projects that AECOM is involved in and how our different entrepreneurs and business owners from the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce can participate and ensure that they're accessing these opportunities.
Certainly. Thank you, Eliza, and thank you to the entire team at the Chamber for inviting us to be a part of this great event today. Special thanks to Carlos, who we've had a long-standing relationship, and the Chamber members, and we certainly are excited to continue that relationship and grow. Just to give those who may not have some familiarity with AECOM. AECOM is a global architecture, engineering, program management, and construction management firm. Our key market areas include power, energy, transportation, water, program management, buildings and places, and environmental projects are really some key areas for us, not just in the region, but globally, as stated. You know, you asked a great question in infrastructure and projects that will be occurring or are currently in the region. You know, the AECOM project team, we really believe that community involvement and providing opportunities for local MW and DBE firms, it really helps foster the local economic development and neighborhood economic development. And it's really a critical element for us to completing a project successfully. We continuously and consistently encourage the firms that we have existing relationships with, as well as those that are new introductions, and we're trying to build the rapport with them. We're consistently encouraging them to review the capital plans for some of our local public sector agencies. We find that those are great opportunities for us to strategize on how we're going to work together moving forward. just taking a look at some of the local public sector, we have New Jersey Transit that has a 5 to 10 year capital plan worth $17 billion. Look at New Jersey Turnpike, $24 billion capital plan. New Jersey Department of Transportation, they have a rolling $2 billion annual capital plan. And at any given point, we're actively working on proposal submissions and developing project teams for those type of pursuits with the agency's reference. So sharing the information with the firms that we're engaged with our diverse partners, and strategizing with them is really a way that we look at supporting the local businesses.
These are tremendous regional projects, and I'm hopeful that many of our statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce members will be able to tap in and participate in those contracts. And to that end, there's a saying in my mind that keeps ringing over and over, and it's something that Allison pointed to, and it was do your homework.
Yeah.
And so Allison and the whole team here, the panel here, please let's talk about how we as entrepreneurs and small business owners need to do our homework so that we can get fast tracked into these programs. Allison.
No, and you know how I feel about this, Elisa. It's so important to do the research, to do it. It's as though you're taking a course. You're studying, you're researching, you're digging deep, you're doing everything that you can possibly do to know about those companies that you're most interested in. So when you do have the opportunity to talk to someone there, you know what you're talking about. You could probably even educate them if you've done your homework well enough. You know, and in addition to that, networking is so critical. Get to know the companies, make a list, get to know the companies that you're most interested in, prioritize them accordingly, and then start checking to see who knows whom. It's no longer 6 degrees of separation. It's typically 3 degrees of separation at this point. Connect with people who know people at the companies that you're interested in, and then start building that network. And as I had mentioned to Alyssa, don't just use your network when you need them for something, because that's going to automatically turn them off. Keep in touch with those individuals. It could be something as simple as, hey, I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. I saw this article. I thought you might be interested in seeing it. And not expect a response, because in many instances, they may not be able to. So keeping that network active, keeping that network warm, you never know what will evolve from that relationship. But it's sort of like dating. You want that relationship to work, you have to put some effort into it.
So true. And, you know, the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce creates this platform for members, and obviously through their HETP program, their LETS program, which helps us further network. So I encourage all of our members and participants to utilize the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce to build that network. Furthermore, I just wanted to, Luis would like to say something.
Yes, I want to mention something, especially to Allison, that they have been with us since we started the Diversity Expo a couple of years ago, and it's consistency. You know, this is a 3-step process: visibility, credibility, and profitability. And we really appreciate as an organization, as a non-for-profit organization, that companies reach out to us when they don't need us, and we build a relationship for those times when they really need us, right? And we are here to support each other. This is not like, you know, we used to get calls when we really need it, asking for just trying to cover something from PR. And I always say that that's the best proof of integrity from Carlos, when we say no to money when we really need it. And that reason was because that didn't reflect the being well of our community, right? I just want to say that this has been a long-term commitment. This is not just like a trend or something that we are just trying to do it. This is a long-term commitment for us. And thank you very much for everybody's support.
Thank you, Luis. And to that point, just in the chat alone, for all of our participants, please read the chat. There are many people trying to connect just within this chat alone. I see there's a post from Invest New York. I'm sorry, Invest Newark. And there are questions, Adi, about how people can tap into American Dream. They want to learn more about how to do that. And, you know, I think that we all should maybe have a couple of maybe 3 points as to what our participants can do to make sure that they can connect with each one of your companies. Can we start with Doreen?
Sure. I think as with most organizations, we need firms to become qualified, and we need them to truly share with us their experience in the architecture and engineering industry, and share with us their staffing capacity for these mega projects. We need to truly understand how we can work with them and collaborate. You know, demonstrate, we're really looking for subs and partners that add value and are a differentiator to help even us win the work. A sample of a firm that's a differentiator could be a company that is a specialist in community engagement, and they have a very deep background in working with the community in a particular geography. That's an excellent partner for us. We want to see experience. We want to see expertise that's going to help us deliver that high quality service and value to our customers. And as Allison, you know, mentioned the networking, you know, once we build a rapport, we are always welcoming companies to bring a project to us. Yes, we're monitoring all of the various public sector agencies for proposals, RFPs, but some of them may slip through the cracks. So if firms are familiar with any particular projects that may be of interest, please share it with us. We'll look into it, and the firm will certainly be a partner with us. But I think at the very core, keep us updated of your company, keep us updated of your services, keep us updated of your staff. If you happen to bring someone on board that may have worked for a public sector client, that's an added value. Of course, as long as everything's legally possible, you know, that's an added value to your firm. Make the announcement, let us know, hey, I have this expert from New Jersey DOT now on my staff, and we could really contribute in a creative way to your project pursuit. So those are key areas that we're really interested in talking with firms about.
Those are fantastic concrete examples. Jose, Wells Fargo, what do we need to know to tap into the resources there and relationship building there?
Well, I love first, let me start with saying I love what Allison said in regards to doing your homework, network. I think we all realize that we are in the relationship building business, and building those relations through network and doing your homework is so very important. You asked for 3 points and things that, and I'll be able to share that later on when we get into the breakout groups. But 3 very important things. 1, know the company, determine if your company provides products or services that Wells Fargo needs. 2, ensure your company is certified. I know we talk about certification, but ensure your company certifies a diverse business. And again, in the breakout, I can provide different institutions that provide those type of certifications. And 3, complete your supplier profile. And again, I'll be sharing later on the breakout, I'll be sharing our website where you can actually create your online profile for supplier diversity. And again, going back to what Allison said, keep in touch, keep building relations, keep networking. Platforms such as this one are very important to do that. So that will be my opinion on that.
Thank you, Jose. And Adi, like American Dream has just such unique, creative ideas that come into reality and into play and offering different services and products to the community. And we as Latinos, Latinas, we have such creativity, such great ideas that we're constantly curating. How can we bring these to American Dream? You're on mute.
Thank you. We believe that we want to be part of this community. We feel very strongly that, you know, the diversity is important to us. It shows that we are acceptant. In today's world, it's very, you know, important for that. And we believe that that also adds to our guest experience, because we want to bring all types of diverse people to visit American Dream, whether it's in the New York, New Jersey based area or abroad. We know right now travel is kind of restricted, but however, long-term goals. I say I agree with the rest of the panel. It's network, bring, you know, make sure you do your homework. Let us know how your company can provide services to American Dream. And I mean, and don't be shy about what kind of services are, because there's all kinds of opportunity, whether it is in American Dream or for our tenants. If you're interested in being a tenant, even you're a small business, there's a lot of opportunity. People think, you know, oh, I have to have millions of dollars to open a store. We really are trying to reach out to all kinds of brands to make sure that the experiences that we offer our guests evolve into all kinds of areas. One thing that people, you know, relate to us as being a mall. We don't like the word mall at American Dream. We see ourselves as an experience retail center. Mall kind of has gotten a little bit of a bad name. And it's, you know, all kinds of things that you can even imagine. We have kiosks for very small businesses that are coming in, and they're doing phenomenally well, selling their products, offering whatever, you know, type of services they have. And we're interested in that as well. So please network with me. If you're wanting to be a vendor, procurement@americandream.com is, you know, where you would have your introduction. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn. I'll make the introduction to the head of procurement. If you're interested in leasing space at American Dream, I'd be more than happy to introduce you to the leasing team. There's a lot of opportunity. We're going to continue to grow. What you see now is just our first leg of American Dream. The idea of American Dream is to be the largest retail center, entertainment retail center in North America, which would outbeat the 2 sister properties that our company owns. And so there's a lot of opportunity.
And, you know, it is so true. There's so much opportunity here, and the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is here to bridge that gap. If you are stuck, participants, if you want to make these connections, please reach out to the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, because we will help connect you and make sure that you know, you're on your path to success. And to that end, I just want to highlight one of my cohorts at Let's program, Laura Hoyos. She actually runs her company Paint to Smile. And there's the idea here is that you could have any business and there are connection points. I know that she partnered with Horizon and, you know, on this painting, health and wellness and mental health exercise program. And that just exemplifies how all of these companies are really connecting, not just with businesses, but with our community. And I'd love Allison to just touch on that because there's so many connection points that Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield has been involved with.
You know, I had to actually put a sampling down because there were so many that Horizon has been involved in. And I wanted to highlight some in particular. One was helping to support the small business owners and nonprofits through our corporate social responsibility. We started sending out regular newsletters to community partners. And it included information on resources, on funding opportunities and government grant and loan programs. We spent $2.35 million to donate 500,000 N95 respirators and masks and 81,000 face shields to Governor Murphy's coordinated response effort during the pandemic, and also donated $2 million to New Jersey's Pandemic Relief Fund. And our Hispanic sales team donated over 10,000 PPE kits to various small businesses and community centers, as well as flu and COVID-19 vaccination sites. Also, we participated in a first responders and school appreciation campaign, where we delivered appreciation items, including premium PPE kits, providing meals to local heroes, which we purchased, and supported the local Spanish restaurants in Hudson and Essex County. Also, local restaurant initiative, where we supported over 40 local minority-owned restaurants and donated meals to members who live and work in the areas that were hit worse by the pandemic. And member wellness calls, where we had an outreach and we would call the vulnerable members to promote telehealth services, as well as important COVID updates. So this is just a sampling of some of the things that we have done in the community and continue to do in the community, because they are our members, they're our community, and it's really vital that we stay connected to make sure that their well-being is taken care of.
You know, I'm looking at the chat, I'm looking at all of the feedback here. Everyone is very positive about, you know, what they're learning through this panel. I thank everyone for your contributions. You know, just last evening, I was talking to one of the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce board members, Monica Milan Martinez, and she owns Stumpy's Hatchet House. And I said, you know what? American Dream is an experience opportunity. You should connect. So everyone out there, I just want to highlight what you learned today. Please share with your fellow statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce members, friends, peers, colleagues, hermanas, hermanos. These are incredible opportunities at ACOM. I know that many of you represent contracting companies. You need to get in touch with ACOM, with Wells Fargo, with all the relationship building as your business is growing. Jose and his team are there. They're there to support you. And American Dream, I mean, what's more to say? The American Dream is there. It's accessible to you. And Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has been such a pillar in our community, continuously serving us as Latinos, Latinx community, and the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So I thank you all. I'm not sure, Luis, if there's any questions I missed in the chat, please let me know.
Doreen, you want to say something?
Oh, thank you, Luis. I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to give some more detailed information to your chamber members. You know, with the billions of dollars in regional infrastructure projects, we have a strong need for MEP design firms, mechanical, electrical, plumbing design firms, companies that do site inspections, special and controlled inspections. We utilize surveying services like our friends at Robinson Aerial. We have a need for hazardous materials abatement. I mean, that is a very key area. You mentioned construction, Eliza, scheduling, cost estimating are additional samples. And these are just a few of the areas where there are opportunities to work with ACOM. So we're open for business. We're welcoming new firms to work with us. We want to reestablish existing relationships. And we encourage everyone to get in contact with us. And they could certainly, as the first point of contact, they can reach out to mwbe@acom.com.
Thank you so
Tom
much.
Bergen has a question.
You're on mute.
Go ahead, Tom. Don't be shy.
Tom, you're on mute.
Thanks for recognizing me. Look, I think the biggest takeaway I'm seeing is the actual live examples of how these companies can connect with you guys. And again, any more that you can talk about that, because I think there's a lot of companies that want to do this, that want to get involved and don't know how. So I think it's more of a comment. I think that's great that you mentioned that, in any way that you can bring in other companies and other organizations, I think is a real key to developing this.
So again, I wanted to thank Adi, Doreen, Jose, and Allison. Thank you for your time, for sharing all of these insights. They are critical to our success as small businesses. And obviously to Luis and Carlos for your dedication in supporting all of us throughout the state.
Thank you, Elisa. You have your fan base killing my cell phone. Everybody say that you are doing a great job. Everybody's happy to be here. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.